Hi, Farhan.
Hey, Gregory, welcome back.
I have a little cup of time uh, to learn. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, I see you alone here.
So far, yeah, seems like it. Uh,
It's my dream to be alone in the class on one to
uh-huh.
one with teacher.
Yeah,
Okay. Uh, no, how are you?
everything's going well actually, Gregory. Everything's fine. California has been a great place. So I'm really enjoying it here, and my
What you
friends and
doing?
I.
What you doing?
Uh,
Rest? No, not only Colingo. Doing what?
Colingo, I'm working on Colingo, and I'm working on another project as well. I'm working on two startups. So I'm trying to actually start my own company. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, so
Good for you.
we'll see, Gregory. I don't know yet. There's a lot to learn.
Good, good luck.
Yeah, thank you
And
so much.
it's a secret or not? What is?
Oh, just thinking ideas right now. I have no ideas. So one of my friends, a very good friend. He is with me in this house. We decided, you know what? Let us start a company. Let us think about starting a company. And he wants me to be the CEO. He wants to be the CTO. Uh, he's much more technical, and I'm much more human. You know, I'm not a robot. So that's in that sense, I think it's going to be interesting. San Francisco, this area of the country, a lot of opportunities, a lot of good things happening. So it's also very expensive. So we will see what happens with that. But yeah, besides that, things are
But
going well.
you need to achieve success for a startup company.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And it's not easy. 90% of startups fail within the first year, 2 years.
I
Um,
hear 95.
95, okay, so it's probably even better. I was being too optimistic, Gregory, right? And yeah, we have these situations. We have to be cautious when we are doing these kinds of things because it's not easy. It's not easy to just start a company. Um, Wow, lots of people joining today. Fantastic, fantastic. Uh, let's see. آشکان جون چطور هستید شما؟ خوش آمدید.
قربونت برم
بازم
مرسی فردات شم چه خبر
همه چیز خوبه. اونجا خیلی دیر شده دیگه. شما هنوز
Eh,
بیدارید.
yes it's 11:10
آها.
and I was awake. Actually, I was talking with my girlfriend and I said I have a class I have to go, and I think she was not very happy about it, so
Wow, you left your girlfriend for this class.
yeah.
بابا دیوونه هستید شما. No, I'm just joking. This guy is crazy, guys. I'm telling Ashkan he's crazy. He left his girlfriend to join this class. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Well,
so
welcome. Uh,
I'm kind of promotion for your class.
of course
Yes,
you are.
guys,
Yeah.
join this class.
Yeah, tell your girlfriend join next time. Be with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I asked her,
Uh-huh.
but she said she's too tired to come, so maybe
Yeah.
another time. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Sure thing, but no, absolutely, man. If you can spread the word, that'd be great.
yeah.
Fantastic, guys. Francisco, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hi, teacher. Nice to see you too.
Yeah, you've been gone for a while, Francisco. Have you been busy?
Yeah, a little. I cannot be teacher. I was having a lot of work.
Uh-huh. Yeah, work keeps us all busy, I think, many different times, many different ways. And last but not least, Maud, how's it going?
Hi, I'm fine.
Welcome.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I like your picture on your Google profile picture.
Thank you. I love Chang.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you know
awesome.
him?
I don't actually. I have no idea who that is.
Really?
Yeah. Is it
Yes,
a
it's a
cartoon character maybe?
yeah. It's from Japanese.
Uh-huh. That's
Mhm.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's fantastic, guys. Everybody, welcome, welcome. We're about 12 minutes past the hour, so actually perfect timing. We'll get started on what we'll get started on what we wanted to talk about today, guys. So today is actually we have an interesting class today. The focus being on science and technology, right? I wanted to choose an article that would be looking at the genomes of different organisms, right? So when we say the word genome, guys, in English, right, We're talking about the genetic code of an organism, right? So the DNA of an organism, right? And this is an advanced class, guys, right? So we are going to be going relatively quickly. However, at any time, if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask me anything you would like to know. We're gonna focus specifically on making polite questions today, actually. So the theme of the conversation: how do we use polite questions in conversation, right? Um, what are some examples, guys? So let me give you guys a scenario, right? Since we're talking about genetic food, right, or genetic items and editing the genetic code of different organisms, right? We now have the ability as scientists to change the genetic code of organisms, right? That's what we learn about in this article. And let's say you're in a foreign country, right, and you want to make some food, right, but you're not sure the quality of meat in that country. Now, let's say you eat meat and you have no idea if the meat is coming from cows that have hormones in them, if the chickens are organic, or if the meat is genetic, right? You have no idea, right? So imagine yourself in a store, right? How would you go about finding out whether or not that meat was genetic, whether or not you'd be able to eat that meat based on your own understanding and based on what you believe is the best for you, right? Ashkan, how would you do it? Let's say you're in a different country and you want to cook something. How would you do it?
Actually, I am kind of easygoing guy, so I don't mind that much. I mean, if I'm in a trip on a trip, so it doesn't mind. Maybe it's for 1 week or something. So I'm not so picky about it. But,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What about how would you ask? So let me change the question a little bit, guys. Let's say you're in a foreign country at a restaurant, and you see the menu items and you have no idea what the menu items are. You have no idea what you can eat even, right? What's a polite way you could ask somebody to find out what they have without maybe insulting that culture, without insulting that person? What's a good way we could do that? Ashkan, you want to go ahead one more time?
Yeah, maybe we can say, would you please explain what is this food? I mean, how do you prepare it or cook it, or what is a mug? I will go straight actually. I will ask. Yeah.
No need to beat around the bush, right? In English we say beating around the bush. No need to beat around the bush, How did you, excuse me, sir, would you please tell me how you made this item, right? Or would you please tell me what kind of meat is in this item, right? So the phrase "would you please" is a fantastic way to begin a question, right? Would you please, right? Could you please? Would you please? We look at these examples today. Francisco, what about you? If you were maybe in the same situation, what would you do?
Yeah, I would say, would you please, or could you please explain me the source of this food, or of these ingredients?
What if the guy tells? Go ahead, Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can have more information about the food that I am going to eat. Actually, I'm not I'm not too much concerned about genetics, but maybe in several years, maybe everybody's going to be concerned about it.
Yeah, especially, right? Especially now that they're making genetically modified food, they're editing the genomes, right? What if the person you're asking, let's say Francisco, you ask the waiter, and the waiter says, "I have no idea where the meat comes from," so he doesn't give you any idea. His answer is very short, very rude, right? How could you ask him again in a very polite way?
Could you please explain the source of this food, or could you please explain the source of this food?
What if I'm still that guy? Sorry, sir, I don't know. I have no idea. It's just beef. I have no idea.
Okay, it is treated genetics.
No idea.
Okay.
Who can you go to in a restaurant, Francisco, if the person doesn't know, if the employee doesn't know, who can you request to see?
Maybe the captain.
Yeah, the captain or maybe the manager of the restaurant, or maybe we have many different roles, right? So the shift manager, sometimes there's a shift manager, right? That person who's responsible for that shift. There are also people, for example, who are working, maybe there's a chef, right? I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
There could be all these people, right? So you can ask them, how would you ask to see somebody else? What's a polite way to ask to see somebody else?
Yeah, you seem good or could. It could be, could you
Yeah.
explain me? Mm-hmm.
Or could you please ask the chef to could you please ask the chef if he knows if this is genetically modified or not, right? Or whatever. Could you please ask your manager the same question because I really want to know, right? You have the right as a guest. If you want to know what's in the food, you have the absolute right to know, right? So you can go to as many people you want as high up into the chain, right? And people do that. People do that a lot in this country. You can't say no to the customer. The customer is always right. You know. What about you, Gregory? If you had a similar situation, you're somewhere, a restaurant, right? You don't know the food, right? What would you do?
I ask him, excuse me, sir, I can you please bring somebody who can help me?
Fantastic. Can you please bring somebody who can help me, right? And then if what if he says, "Oh, I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody. Nobody can help you."
Okay, then excuse me, sir. Maybe you can call to another place and your manager, and I want to speak with him, please.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic, right? I want to speak with him, right? Would you please call somebody, maybe your manager? I want to speak with him, right? If at that point an employee is still being rude and is not giving you your answer, then you can just get up and leave, right? You don't have to eat there, right? Depends on the service, right? If they treat you poorly, then you can leave, right? But of course, most places will not do that. Most places will treat you very well. Uh, Great job, Gregory. Maud, what about, so you said could you please, right? You would start with the could you please question? Uh-huh.
I just want to take a note. For me, I can ask him, would you mind to tell me, would you mind telling me about the ingredients come from?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Would you mind telling me where the ingredients come from or the source of the ingredients? Yeah. Those are all great, right? So you would like to, if you want to say it perfectly, Maud, you would just want to say, would you mind telling me where the ingredients come from?
Okay.
Right? Where the
Would you
ingredients come from.
mind telling me where the ingredients come from?
Yeah, fantastic. And then they could say, oh, well, we have beef, we have a little bit of, whatever, they can go into all those details, right? And that's fantastic, guys. What I wanted to do with this exercise, because it's an advanced class, we're not going to go over all the different types of constructions, right? I wanted to see where you guys were, how you guys were thinking already, and you guys hit all the big ones. You guys hit would you, can, could you, right? Would you mind as well, right? Would you please, would you mind, right? Gregory made a really good use of the word excuse me, and you guys all said please, right? If I'm not mistaken, you guys all said please. That is the basis of how we make polite questions in English, right? Can is considered to be less polite than could, right? Could is considered a little bit more polite. Could you please, right? Could you please? Can is considered a little less polite. Would you is also a very polite way of doing something. And the best way, the most polite way generally, is would you mind? Would you mind? And then the verb that follows that follows mind is always in the continuous form, right? So it's would you mind, and then a verb that ends in ing, right? So would you mind telling me, showing me, bringing me, right? Would you mind bringing me the menu with the ingredients? Some people are very health conscious. You have the right to know. Would you mind sharing with me the calorie composition of this dessert, right? I can only have something that is sugar-free. Would you mind telling me if this dessert is sugar-free, right? Not only genetics, guys, tons of different things, right? We are eating different types of food all the time these days. right? So these are, guys, the main examples of polite questions. Do we have any questions, guys, about any of these questions? The way we make them, how we use them?
About would you please. After would you please, it should be like ing form of the verb. Or
Actually, in the
should
case of
it?
would you please, you can actually make it any form, right? And it's actually better if it's in the base form. Would you please tell me? Would you please show me?
Yeah,
Would you
exactly.
please bring me? Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Great question, Ashkan. Any other questions, guys?
No, teacher.
Okay, awesome, guys. So let's take a look then, guys. Genetically modified food, right? Or genetically modified anything, right? I'm focusing on food because I think that's somewhere that's a way that a lot of people understand genetically modified things. I'm focusing on food, but the article actually is talking about just editing genomes in general, right? The ability for scientists to go in and actually change the DNA of any part of the human genome, for example, right? And they're extending this to other types of genomes. If they can do it on humans, then they can do the same kind of thing on animals. They can do the same kind of thing to vegetables and food and all the different kinds of things, right? So here, guys, is the article that we're going to look at. It comes from Fox News, right? And I'm also going to be screen sharing so you guys can follow along. One big thing to know, guys, it's an advanced class, so I really want to focus on the conversation. I will be stopping every few paragraphs to go over any words that I think are important. At the same time, when you guys see any words that are different, that you don't know the meaning, or whatever the case might be, please stop me, right? I want to go over all the words as we are reviewing them. So let's get started, guys. Let's see what this article is saying. I'm going to move my screen here. Awesome, guys. So genetics breakthrough, right, enables scientists to edit any part of the human genome, report claims, right? Any part of the human genome. Pretty remarkable what we can do with something like that, right? A new technique has enabled scientists to engineer parts of the human genome with extreme precision. A breakthrough which could mean new treatment possibilities for maladies such as cancer, HIV, and inherited genetic disorders. Right? Very, it's a complicated paragraph, guys. Right? What does the word maladies mean? What do you guys think?
Rare diseases.
Yeah, not even rare, Ashkan. It actually just means diseases.
Diseases.
Right? So another word for disease is malady, and we see malady more in literature. It's actually unusual that they wrote the word maladies in an article that's focusing on science, but we do see it here in this example, right? So genetic modification can be a huge solution to so many genetic diseases, right? Cancer, HIV, other kinds of genetic disorders, right? Oh, also Ken, hey, how's it going? Welcome. Good to see you again, Ken. I think your mic might be muted. Can't hear you if you're saying anything. But we just got started with the article, Ken, so if you want to follow along, that would be great. So, according to the report published in Thursday's edition of The Independent in Britain, the technique known as CRISPR enables the most detailed and specific possible alteration to any part of DNA of the 23 pairs of human chromosomes without, big thing, right, without introducing unintended mutations or flaws, right? Without introducing unintended mutations or flaws. What is this paragraph saying, guys? What can CRISPR do that is so revolutionary? Anybody, guys? Anybody? You guys are so quiet. Come on, come
on. He tried to change the defected DNA without mutations.
Yeah, absolutely. What is a mutation, Maud? What's a mutation?
changing genes from one to another that we don't want it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. So unintended, right? Unintended is a big part of that. Mutations are happening all the time in our DNA, right? Naturally, they happen in our DNA, right? The reason we're all different is because we have different mutations, right? But for many years, scientists have struggled to correct DNA, right? They want to fix DNA, but in the process of fixing the DNA, they actually introduce mutations by mistake or unintendedly. You know, I mean, without wanting to, they have introduced these mutations, right? And that was a big problem because you're trying to fix a problem, but you're creating another problem, right? So now this is the first time that they are able to actually go in and change any part of DNA in the human chromosomes, right? So any part of the human's DNA without making another mutation. So they're editing, you know, imagine that you're typing on your computer and you want to remove one letter in the middle of a word. Before removing that one letter, maybe changed two other letters somewhere else, right? Now you can just surgically change that one letter and only that one letter gets changed, right? So it's pretty revolutionary. This pinpoint laser-guided, you know, laser-guided technology that's allowing us to be so specific in the way that we edit our DNA, right? CRISPR, you know, so this program is absolutely huge, right? So this is the technique that they use. It's absolutely huge. It's incredibly powerful, and it has many applications, from agriculture to potential gene therapy in humans, said Craig Mello of the University of Massachusetts Medical School. And Craig is actually a 2006 Nobel Prize winner, right? So this former Nobel Prize winner, extremely excited about what this can do, right? All the way from agriculture to gene therapy, right? It's an unbelievably powerful system. Any questions, guys, so far about this paragraph or anything else? Ken, did you have a question? I saw you type something in the chat window. Oh, Ken, I really can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're muting yourself or not. In any case, guys, does anybody else have any questions, guys?
So I mean the second paragraph, it means that there are a lot of human chromosomes that only in 23 pairs of them the DNA can be I mean how to say can be handled without unintended mutation mutations.
Mutations, yeah. So humans have 23 pairs, right? We have 46 chromosomes, right? So there's 23 pairs. So what they're saying is that now you can change any part of the DNA in any of the human chromosomes, right?
So the human being has only 23 pairs of chromosomes. That's what
Yes.
you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we have 23, 22 of them are normal, and then the last one is a sex chromosome. So it determines if you're male or female. Yeah. So we only have 23 pairs, right? And it's crazy because it's many animals actually have more, guys. You know, many animals have many more chromosomes, but they're much less advanced than we are, right? We are the most advanced, and we have only 23.
Check.
Oh yeah, Ken, I can hear you now.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problems, Ken. Did you have a question, Ken? I just want to make sure.
No, I just show the proof of your correction.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, appreciate it. So let's see what else what they're saying, right? It's one of those things that you have to see to believe, right? I read the scientific papers like everyone else, but when I saw it working in my own lab, my jaw dropped. A total novice in my lab got it to work, right? What does this expression mean, guys? If somebody says my jaw dropped, what does that mean?
He wonders a lot. I mean, like cartoons when the jaw drops.
Yeah. What? So was he surprised? Was he angry? What happened?
He was wondered and he was surprised. Yeah.
He was surprised, right? Francisco, is it a good thing? Do you think it's a good thing in this example that the professor's jaw dropped, or is it a bad thing? So he's saying, for example, that this technique is absolutely huge. It's so powerful. There's so many different things that are going on. And when I saw it working in my own lab, my jaw dropped. He was so surprised by that, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, do you think, Francisco?
Well, I think it's a good thing because, well, um the change in human genome, well, has a lot of applications. So I think he his job was dropped. Well, but I think that this kind of science has some advantages and disadvantages still.
Yeah, right. So there are benefits, of course, and people are very excited about the benefits, but at the same time, right, maybe not all scientists are happy with something like this, right? It'd be interesting to see. Maud, what do you think so far, just in terms of what we've talked about? Do you think the professor is, or do you think this professor is happy that we have this kind of technology, or is he upset? What do you think?
I don't know, but I guess that he is happy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think based on what we're hearing from this guy, right, he seems to be very, very surprised and very, very happy. But with genes, there's always that other side of the story. So the Independent, right, so this is the newspaper, right? The Independent reports that CRISPR could be used to hasten the development of genetically modified crops and livestock, but many experts are most excited about its possibilities in humans. What does this word hasten mean, guys? What is hasten? Have you guys heard of it before?
No.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a literature kind of word.
Maybe kind of accelerate.
Accelerate, yeah. Right? To accelerate something, to hasten something is to accelerate something, to bring about something more quickly than would be normally possible, right? So they think CRISPR is such an amazing technology, right? Hastening it can possibly hasten the development of genetically modified crops and livestock, right? So before, where maybe the technology allowed us to imagine that we would have genetically modified crops and livestock in 30 years, now we are going to have, because the process is hastened, we're going to have this in maybe 10 years, right? Because CRISPR allows so much more, right? So let's look at a little bit of the science. I don't know how many of you guys have studied RNA synthesis and RNA modification, DNA stuff. I actually don't think it's that important, guys. I'm actually just going to skip it because it's really complicated science. But according to the Independent, right, some scientists believe the technique, CRISPR, could be used to eliminate certain genetic diseases, like Down syndrome or Huntington's disease, by altering the DNA of an embryo before implanting it in the mother's womb. Right? Now, this is where things get a little weird, right? I mean, depending on how people believe about embryonic research, and we have the whole stem cell debate, right? They're saying here that in the future, they can actually eliminate diseases by going into the embryo, this is even before the baby is a baby, right? I mean, at the first stage, going in and changing the DNA before the embryo is even attached to the mother's uterus, inside the womb, right? Kind of crazy, guys, right? I mean, what do you guys think about something like that, right? Genetically making sure that a person doesn't have a disease when they're still an embryo, is that legal? Should that be allowed? What do you guys think? Ken?
Yes, I think if the baby has such kind of disease, and now technology allows us to know beforehand. To rescue them, I think it's helpful. It's helpful. If it is not harmful.
It's not harmful. It could actually be helpful. Yeah. Ashkan, what do you think about that? Going in and maybe saying, if we see that a baby has a disease, right, eliminating that disease using DNA before the baby is, actually growing inside the mother.
So they have to make sure that the baby, the embryo, have potentially some kind of disease, isn't it? right?
Yeah, yeah, they would have to make sure.
So after making sure that there is some kind of diseases in this embryo, they remove it and they change the DNAs in it, and then they implant it into the mother's womb.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a good thing, I guess. It's very good, very helpful.
Very helpful for us. Yeah. Okay. Francisco, what do you think? Is that something that you think you'd be okay with?
Yeah, in this case, I agree because I think if a boy or a baby has a disease, well, maybe with this procedure, scientists can change this, can save this life or give him a better life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. So we're all agreeing. Ashkan, Ken, and Francisco, you guys are all saying the same thing. Mad, what about you? Do you think this is something that is good potentially to have the option of genetically modifying the embryo?
Yeah, it's cool that we have the technology that can eliminate genetic diseases. It's very cool. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. You guys are all on the same page. That's great. And let's see, the last paragraph, guys. It would be difficult to argue against using it if it can be shown to be as safe, reliable, and effective as it appears to be. Dr. Dega Wells, an IFE scientist at Oxford University, told the paper, "Who would condemn a child to terrible suffering and perhaps an early death when a therapy exists capable of repairing the problem?" Right? So what you guys said is exactly what this doctor just said, right? This doctor said, who would condemn a child, right? Who would force a child to a life of terrible suffering, right? And perhaps an early death when you do have a therapy, when you do have a solution or a cure, right, that is capable of repairing the problem. So I'm surprised, guys, that this story has not attracted more media attention, right? Because when you think about the human genome, right, we have this double helix, the DNA molecule, right? In its beauty and its simplicity, right, we have never been able to actually modify it without causing mutations. And now for the first time it's a possibility. And it opens so many different doors, right? So the questions, before I move on with the rest of the conversation, guys, do you guys have any questions about the article?
No.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Maud.
I want to know the meaning of condemn.
Great question. To condemn something or to condemn someone, usually we use the word condemn in the use of someone. To condemn a person is to give them no option but what actually exists for them, right? So for example, when you condemn a prisoner to a life in prison, right, you are forcing that person, you are giving that person no option to change his destiny, right? You're condemning the individual to their fate, to their destiny. There's no change. You're not making any effort to change that person's future, that person's situation. So in this case, they're saying it for the case of a child, right? Who would condemn a child to a terrible genetic disease, right? Maybe that would make it very difficult for that child to stay alive, and maybe that child would die early, right? Who could do that when we do have a cure, right? So does that help, Maud?
I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, so think about it in the case of a prisoner, Maud, right? We use the word condemn most often in conversational English when we're talking about prisoners, right? The prisoner was condemned to life in prison, right? The prisoner was condemned to death row, right? Death row in English is what we say when a person is in line to be executed, right? If somebody does does a very horrible crime and they are to be killed, it's decided that they are to be killed, then they are put on death row. They are condemned to death row. They have no other option. Their only option is to die, right? They have no other option. For people that are condemned to life in prison, they have no other option, right? They have to live the rest of their life in prison, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it gives someone an example in which you give. It's a verb that means that you're giving somebody no other option but the option that they are born with or the option that they find themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or condemn a situation, is it right?
Yeah, you condemn a
Example,
person to a situation.
no, or
Oh.
because I have read in the news, for example, it's written the U.S. government, for example, condemned the, I mean, the condemned killing people in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
You're
Yeah,
absolutely
it's
right.
kind of.
You're absolutely right. That's another use of the word condemn, actually, Ashkan, that I'm really happy that you mentioned it. When we say the word condemn in that sense, actually, right? And so, Ahmad, you have to add to your notes. I'm really happy you're making these notes too, by the way. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. To make another use of the word condemn is when somebody is when an individual disagrees very strongly, almost to the point of opposes something, right? So we hear it from the official channels. What Ashkan said was absolutely correct, right? The United States condemns the terrorist attacks in Syria, let's say,
Oh,
right?
okay, yes.
Yeah, or anything like that, condemns the killings of innocent people in Syria, right? Or any other country in the world, whatever. The United States condemns the violence that has occurred in Libya, for example, right? So condemning is also when you are very strongly opposed to something and you are declaring that strong opposition to something, right? So governments do it, individuals do it. Maybe Obama sits somewhere and he says, "I condemn this action." Right. It actually has two different meanings. That was great that you guys caught that. Fantastic. That's why I love being in these advanced classes, guys. You guys help me pass the time, honestly, because otherwise I talk to myself. I feel like I'm just talking and talking. So, great, guys, great. So, let's take a look, guys, at some of the questions I had for you. And remember, we are talking about polite questions, right? So that's kind of the theme of our class. You know, would you find it to be okay with society to just genetically modify anything and everything that we can get our hands on, right? The reason I ask this is because from this article, the understanding that I get is CRISPR is so versatile and so powerful that we can use it on tomatoes, we can use it on cows, we can use it on Huntington's disease, we can use it on embryos, we can use it on ourselves, right? There is nothing in this article that suggests that this is something that is limited to just one or two things. It's considered extremely versatile, right? Now, would you guys be okay living in a world that has that much reliance, or a world that has the ability to alter the genetic code of things just like that, right? Should nature be a part of that conversation, or should humans just automatically, now that we have the technology, begin to change whatever we want genetically? What do you guys think? It's a loaded question. It's a long question. So I want to see what you guys have to say. Ken, what do you think about that?
I think the all kind of thing has advantages and disadvantages. Actually, maybe disadvantage of this kind of thing often happen in many kind of field. It could be harmful for our ecosystem. The farmer nowadays I heard kind of some crop is kind of genetically modified or kind of bug proof kind of thing, and but maybe that's helpful in the short term, but in the long run it could be could be harmful for our ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe yeah.
How could it be? How could it be, Ken? Do you have an example, maybe, or somewhere maybe
Yeah,
you heard?
I had an example of that, but I forgot. Maybe
Oh,
because of that, some type of insect uh, kind of disappeared by or increased or something like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the beautiful things about nature, guys, is that nature has a natural balance, right? For the millions of years that we have been on planet Earth, and animals have been on planet Earth, and plants have been on planet Earth, right? There has been a relatively healthy balance, right? If one organism increases, then its enemies increase. You know, you have the food cycle. You have so many different cycles that maintain everything in the world, from nitrogen and water and food and resources, maintains it in equilibrium, right? There's this, nature has been able to design this balance. Depends if you believe in nature, if you believe in God or science, right? People believe that nature has this natural ability to make things okay, right? But now we are introducing this idea of genetic human artificial modification, right? So yeah, Ken, I like what you said. I like what you said, that there are advantages and disadvantages, and maybe in the short term we'll see just the advantages, and in the long term we'll find out the disadvantages, right?
It seems like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Ashkan, what do you think? Do you agree with Ken, or do you think this is a good thing?
Yeah,
Let's just.
yes, I kind of agree with Ken because I'm thinking at the first glance, maybe you will think that yes, it's a very good thing if there is no, for example, any diseases or something. But when you look at it in a different angle, maybe I'm thinking now. I mean, if it's like this in future, everybody. I mean, there won't be any diseases, so everybody's like perfect. So it's kind of like robots, and maybe I don't know, or maybe they change the chromosomes in a way that nobody get sad or something like that, or depressed, or so everybody is happy. I don't know. It's kind of weird. As you said, it's kind of. I mean, we will cause some kind of unbalanced
Mm-hmm.
in the world, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not that good.
Yeah. Is it
Yeah,
a slippery slope, Ashkan? Is it a slippery slope?
it's a slippery slope. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
because
kind of.
we start with something, oh my God, this is great. Next thing you know, oh no, oh no, and we just keep going down this slippery slope, right? We have no way to stop ourselves, right? We get so hooked to something, Ken, yo man, listen, dude, I feel so happy when I drink Coca-Cola. Okay, make me a Coca-Cola gene, right? Ken, I'm having fun, right? But people want to engineer themselves, right? I want to have a gene that allows me to, not feel depressed when I have, troubles with my relationship, right? I mean, so many different kinds of things, right? Everything in the genetic code controls who we are, right? Hair color, eye color, height, weight, right? I mean, they're talking about genes for obesity, genes for blood type, genes for, you know, physical strength, right? I mean, genetics is at the heart of what we are, of who we are. So I don't know, guys. Ashkan thinks it's a dangerous. It might be a slippery slope. Francisco, what do you think?
Well, I think for medicine, this is good because they are helping human beings to overcome some diseases like cancer, like AIDS.
Uh-huh.
But in the other side, I think that they started modifying the food genetic. For example, in corn, in chicken, for example, chicken. Um, Now we are able to have a huge crops on livestock, maybe modifying the crops. So we can, well, so the interworld can have more food, but I think some of these things are going to damage human beings maybe in the future, because some of these foods are causing cancer or something like that.
It is, right? It is. And who do you guys think will do this modification? Is it going to be me, average Joe Schmo? Hey, yo, by the way, I have a genetic kit in my locker, and I'm just going to take out my little microscope and do genetic research. I mean, it's not going to be the average Joe Schmo, right? I mean, who do you think will do this kind of research, Francisco? Is it going to be governments? Is it going to be politicians? Who's going to have the power?
No, scientists. I think that all scientists all over the world are doing this kind of modifications.
Uh-huh.
Some of them are good for to fight against diseases, but and some of them are good to giving more food to humans.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they had to take care because they can produce some diseases or hasten some diseases like cancer.
Yeah, but you know what I'm worried about to a certain extent, Francisco, is I understand that scientists are doing the research, right? But when we look at the world of science is also very politicized, right? I mean, scientists are funded by special groups, special interests, special lobbies. You know, you have the large pharmaceutical companies in the world that are designing the medicines, you know, that the vast majority of the world consumes, right? A few companies are making those medicines, right? So, and they have control. I mean, you know, Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, these massive companies, right, kind of have they have a monopoly over this industry, right? So where I am a little concerned, maybe it's my libertarian, it's my revolutionary, you know, side. I'm thinking who is going to be controlling this, you know, at the national level or at the larger international level. You know, who is going to be deciding, okay, this is what gets modified, this is what gets regulated, you know. What if there's secret things happening behind the shadows? Star Wars, you know, they start making clone soldiers. I don't know, Francisco. I mean, things could get crazy, you know. I'm
Yeah,
just, you know, I mean, there's other so many considerations, right, for something this powerful. I think the military and I think governments are going to be very interested to see what they can do, you know. So,
yeah.
but I'm just talking from myself, Francisco. Thank you for your views, though. I think it was very good. Maud, what do you think?
I think the bottom line is that we should be safe. Uh, they can. I love the idea that we use this technology to eliminate diseases, but for crops, I'm not sure that it will change human chromosomes as well. Or not. Something that we have to take time to get the results in maybe 10 years that it is safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it needs to be researched more, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're talking about CRISPR, and it was only really, I think, developed this year. You know, so if it was developed this year, you know, 2013, another 10 years, you know, 2023, 2024, you know, the magic year 2020 when we're all going to be living in space, guys, in just 7 years, you know. We used to think 60 years ago that 2020 would be some magical year, right, when everyone would live in space, sci-fi. But yeah, things are changing like crazy, right? In the next 7 to 10 years, I think we will learn a lot about genetic engineering. What is another application, guys, besides looking at the modification of, for example, let's say diseases, right? Have you guys ever heard of, for example, tissue engineering? Tissue engineering for people who have lost, you know, arms and legs or skin in one part of their bodies, right? They're actually thinking of using genetic engineering to repair body parts. You know, people that have been, you know, if somebody was in a fire and got hurt. Would that be a good thing to do as well? Ken, what do you think if it's something like that? The tissue engineering aspect of it.
Yeah, if I lost my fingers or something, yeah, I definitely want to, you know, that get back that part.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of, I think it's helpful for people who lost arms or legs. And I heard 3D printer can be applied to that technology as well as teach. He says teach something. I forgot the name, but
Yeah, we do have three. What is a 3D printer, Ken? What does it do?
because the 3D printer prints kind of 3D print in 3D, so they can make. In that case, it's not a genetically kind of thing, I guess, because I seen the mouse in the mouse's back, human ear regenerated by genetically, but I'm not sure the 3D printer's case. How can they apply to such kind of field?
Yeah, I'm not sure either, honestly. I've seen one video of a guy making a gun using a 3D printer. He was able to just design his own gun using a 3D printer. And it's interesting stuff, but I think within the next 10 to 15 years, guys, the way in which we live, the way in which we treat diseases is going to be very different, My last question for you guys, we'll start with Ashkan and we'll go to Maud. Ashkan, who do you think how much do you think this will cost, actually? Do you think the cost of this technology, CRISPR or whatever, do you think it will prevent widespread use, maybe in places like Africa or Asia? Do you think it's going to take a long time for this technology to reach them, or will it be something more international?
I think like other kind of technologies, I mean, you're talking about Africa or third world countries or something like that?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, can this be something that everybody in the world has access to, or will it be limited to just the Western countries, the rich countries?
I think definitely it will be limited. So it takes time until, it's, how to say, it's worldwide, or, yes. The usage of it is worldwide. It takes time. So.
Yeah, just kind of like how even today the best technological, techniques and things like that when it comes to healthcare are mostly in Europe and North America, or Australia, something like that. So that's why it's interesting. Maybe this will take time to actually implement. Francisco, what do you think? Do you think this will cost a lot of money, or the article doesn't say anything about that, but I'm just asking, your idea.
Yes, this will cost a lot of money, but well, it's a good effort. So if we're trying to fight some diseases, well, it's worth.
Yeah, it's worth the cost, right? Maybe we should invest in something like this instead of some of the other things that we throw a lot of money at as kind of big governments. And Maud, what do you think? I think Maud, you said you're a pharmacist, right?
Yes.
So you're in the healthcare field, right? So you know about medicines and how people behave, or how people in the world of healthcare are reacting to different medicines, different techniques. You have some experience with that, I'm sure. Do you think this will be welcomed by patients, and will it be accessible to people around the world, or do you think people will hesitate, like, oh, I don't know about this genetic stuff sounds a little crazy? What do you think?
Yeah, I think in the future I'm not sure that in drugstore or pharmacies can do that, but I think maybe in next 20, 30 years in the future we can the patients can access easier to this technology. I'm not sure, because technology go fast, and I hope so.
Yeah, I think there is hope, guys. I think there's hope, but the only thing I'm a little concerned with is who is going to really control this, and if it's a free for all kind of, anybody does whatever they want, or countries can do their own thing, and it's not regulated, then I feel like there's a potential for danger, not in the human genome sense, but in the food sense, I think. So you guys are talking about ecosystem imbalance and those kinds of things. It'll be interesting to see. I think we have to wait and see what actually happens with this, but I was very surprised that CRISPR has not received more attention in the news. I mean, this is revolutionary, right? It's a breakthrough, but we haven't heard anything about it, or at least I hadn't until I read this article. So hopefully it's not a hoax. I know Fox News is very sensational, but hopefully it's not a hoax. Otherwise we just spent 1 hour reading about something fake. But no, I think it's I think it's true. So, guys, we looked at polite questions at the beginning of the class, right? So we saw, for example, that can is less polite than could, right? So could is more polite. And we also saw that would you mind is probably the best way to start a question that we're asking in a polite way, right? In addition to that, we saw would you please, could you please, right? We also saw the example of excuse me and please when we are making sentences and asking questions politely, right? And then we transitioned to this article in which we talked about the genetic modification of different organisms, including crops and people and animals, disease prevention using genetics, and many, many other things that we kind of delved into. To wrap everything up, guys, did we have any questions on anything else? I'm completely open. You guys can ask me whatever you guys want to ask.
I just found the Huffington Post report that Hawaii state of Hawaii banned all new genetic modified crop to plant.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's interesting, Ken. Hawaii in of itself is it's a very sensitive area for when it comes to the environment, because it's a group of islands, right? So it's an archipelago. In English, when we say the word archipelago, guys, excuse me, it means a group of islands, right? So Hawaii is an archipelago, and it's very isolated from the rest of the world. So if anything new, if an invasive species or if a new kind of bird or bug or pest or animal gets introduced in Hawaii, it could wipe out entire populations on that island, right? So it doesn't surprise me. California is also very, very weird because I'm not from here, so when I was driving here, right, I was entering California from another state. California acts like its own country in many ways, right? So when I was entering California from Nevada, Nevada is the next state, right? They stopped all the cars to inspect for agriculture, right? Were we bringing in anything into California that could possibly hurt the ecosystem of this state, right? And I have never seen that in any other state in the U.S., right? In the U.S., it doesn't matter. You never have checkpoints. When you're driving, you never have checkpoints. You can just always go, you know. But in California, they stopped us to do specifically check on agriculture. Were we bringing in crops, plants, you know, seeds, you know, flowers, anything like that into California? And I was very surprised. I never thought I would see that within the United States. I mean, it's not another country. It's still the United States, but they do inspections. So, yeah, I think Hawaii, that's very fascinating, Ken, that they do that in Hawaii, but I'm not surprised by it. Yeah, that's awesome. Any other questions, guys? You guys are very quiet. I feel like I'm not doing a good job. I'm always talking.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Maud, please. Yeah.
What is the difference between would you mind and do you mind?
There is really no difference in meaning, Maud, but the only difference I would say is would is a little bit more polite than do.
Okay. And it is the same structure when I want to use do you mind plus continuous tense, right?
Yeah, so do you mind telling me? Would you mind telling me? Yep, same construction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. You guys are asking good questions, guys. Francisco, am I boring you, man? I'm sorry.
No, teacher, it was interesting class.
Okay.
But everything is clear so far.
Okay, guys, fantastic. No other questions, guys? Everyone's doing okay?
No, teacher, thank you.
Awesome, Francisco. It was good to see you guys then. And hopefully you guys can join me again. I have classes every day now, four times a day. So just see the schedule, and you guys are more than welcome.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
Alrighty, awesome, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He is with me in this house. We decided, you know what, let us start a company. Let us think about starting a company. And he wants me to be the CEO. He wants to be the CTO. You know, he's much more technical, and I'm much more human. You know, I'm not a robot. So that's in that sense, I think it's going to be interesting. San Francisco, this area of the country, a lot of opportunities, a lot of good things happening. So it's also very expensive. So we will see what happens with that. But yeah, besides that, things are
But
going well.
you need to achieve success for a startup company.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And it's not easy. 90% of startups fail within the first year, 2 years.
I
Um,
hear 95.
95. Okay, so it's probably even better. I was being too optimistic, Gregory, right? And yeah, we have these situations. We have to be cautious when we are doing these kinds of things because it's not easy. It's not easy to just start a company. Um, Wow, lots of people joining today. Fantastic, fantastic. Uh, let's see. آشکان جون چطور هستید شما؟ خوش آمدید.
قربونت برم،
بازم
مرسی. فردات شم. چه خبر؟
همه چیز خوبه. اونجا خیلی دیر شده دیگه. شما هنوز
Eh,
بیدارید.
Yes, it's 11:10,
آها.
and I was awake. Actually, I was talking with my girlfriend, and I said I have a class I have to go, and I think she was not very happy about it. So
Wow, you left your girlfriend for this class.
yeah.
بابا دیوونه هستید شما. I'm just joking. This guy is crazy, guys. I'm telling Ashkan he's crazy. He left his girlfriend to join this class. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Well, welcome.
so I'm kind of promotion for your class.
Of course
Yes,
you are.
guys,
Yeah.
join this class.
Yeah, tell your girlfriend join next time. Be with you.
Yeah, actually, I asked her,
Uh-huh.
but she said she's too tired to class. Maybe
Yeah.
another time. Yeah.
Sure thing, but no, absolutely, man. If you can spread the word, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Fantastic, guys. Francisco, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hi, teacher. Nice to see you too.
Yeah, you've been gone for a while, Francisco. Have you been busy?
Yeah, a little. I cannot be teacher. I was having a lot of work.
Yeah, work keeps us all busy, I think, many different times, many different ways. And last but not least, Maud, how's it going?
Hi, I'm fine.
Welcome.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I like your picture on your Google profile picture.
Thank you. I love Chin-Chang.
Yeah, it's
Do you know
awesome.
him?
I don't actually. I have no idea who that is.
Really?
Yeah. Is it
Is it
a cartoon character, maybe?
Yeah, it's from Japanese.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's fantastic, guys. Everybody, welcome, welcome. We're about 12 minutes past the hour, so actually perfect timing. We'll get started on what we'll get started on what we wanted to talk about today, guys. So today is actually we have an interesting class today. The focus being right. Ashkan, how would you do it? Let's say you're in a different country and you want to cook something. How would you do it?
Actually, I am kind of easygoing guy, so I don't mind that much. I mean, if I'm in a trip on a trip, so it doesn't mind. Maybe it's for 1 week or something. So I'm not so picky about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What about how would you ask? So let me change the question a little bit, guys. Let's say you're in a country, in a foreign country, at a restaurant, and you see the menu items, and you have no idea what the menu items are. You have no idea what you can eat, even, right? What's a polite way you could ask somebody to find out what they have without maybe insulting that culture, without insulting that person? What's a good way we could do that? Ashkan, you want to go ahead one more time?
Yeah, maybe we can say, would you please explain what is this food? I mean, how do you prepare it or cook it, or what is the I will go straight actually. I will ask.
Yeah. No need to beat around the bush, right? In English we say beating around the bush. No need to beat around the bush, How did you, excuse me, sir, would you please tell me how you made this item, right? Or would you please tell me what kind of meat is in this item, right? So the phrase "would you please" is a fantastic way to begin a question, right? Would you please, right? Could you please? Would you please? We look at these examples today. Francisco, what about you? If you were in maybe in the same situation, what would you do?
Yeah, I would say.
Hi,
Hey, hey, Gregory, welcome back.
I have a little cup of time to learn. So
Fantastic.
yeah, I see you alone here.
So far, yeah, seems like it.
It's my dream to be alone in the class on one-to-one with teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. No, how are you?
Everything's going well, actually, Gregory. Everything's fine. California has been a great place. So I'm really enjoying it here, and my
What you
friends and
doing?
I.
What you doing?
Uh,
Rest? No, not only Colingo. Any point?
Colingo. I'm working on Colingo, and I'm working on another project as well. I'm working on two startups. So I'm trying to actually start my own company.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Good for you.
we'll see, Gregory. I don't know yet. There's a lot to learn.
Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you
And
so much.
it's a secret or not? What is it?
Oh, just thinking ideas right now. I have no ideas. So one of my friends, a very good friend, he on science and technology, right? I wanted to choose an article that would be looking at the genomes of different organisms, right? So when we say the word genome, guys, in English, right, we're talking about the genetic code of an organism, right? So the DNA of an organism, right? And this is an advanced class, guys, right? So we are going to be going relatively quickly. However, at any time, if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask me anything you would like to know. So we're gonna focus specifically on making polite questions today, actually. So the theme of the conversation: how do we use polite questions in conversation, right? Um, what are some examples, guys? So let me give you guys a scenario, right? Since we're talking about genetic food, right, or genetic items and editing the genetic code of different organisms, right? We now have the ability as scientists to change the genetic code of organisms, right? That's what we learn about in this article. And let's say you're in a foreign country, right, and you want to make some food, right, but you're not sure the quality of meat in that country. Now, let's say you eat meat and you have no idea if the meat is coming from cows that have hormones in them, if the chickens are organic, or if the meat is genetic, right? You have no idea, right? So imagine yourself in a store, right? How would you go about finding out whether or not that meat was genetic, whether or not you'd be able to eat that meat based on your own understanding and based on what you believe is the best for you?